X-Men Children of the Atom was originally released on the CPS2 arcade hardware in 1994 before being brought over to the North American SEGA Saturn in April 1996. While the game was originally pitched as a SEGA Saturn exclusive, given the poor sales of the system, the game would eventually be released on the PC and PlayStation 1 later in 1997. It is generally agreed that the Saturn version is the best of the home versions released. And that's the one you're looking at here. I know the PS1 version is generally slower than the Saturn version and is missing quite a few frames of animation. So, with that out of the way, let's dig on into the game itself. Children of the Atom is the game that started it all. It was the first Marvel licensed game to Capcom, and boy is it a trip down memory lane. The foundation laid here would eventually lead to the fantastic Marvel vs. Capcom series. But before that, there was X-Men Children of the Atom, and Marvel Superheroes, which we'll take a look at next week. Children of the Atom is based on the Fatal Attraction storyline from the mid-90s. It deals with Magneto trying to set off an EMP blast to set mankind back to the Dark Ages, and have mutants rule the Earth. As one of 6 X-Men or 4 villain characters, your quest is to stop Magneto. Simple enough, right? There are 10 playable characters in the game: Storm, Cyclops, Wolverine, Omega Red, Sentinel, Iceman, Colossus, Psylocke, Silver Samurai, and Spiral. Akuma is also a playable secret unlockable character, and you can even fight him if certain requirements are met. The voice actors from the mid-90s X-Men cartoon also reprise their roles from the show, so you can expect all sorts of excellent one-liners. To date, that X-Men cartoon remains my favorite Marvel cartoon outside the mid-90s Spider-Man cartoon. Basically all that to say, the voice acting is top-notch, and if you were a fan of the show, you are going to get your nostalgia bone tickled quite nicely. As for the gameplay, the core fighting is much quicker than the Street Fighter II series, and more so even than Darkstalkers. This was when Capcom was experimenting with all kinds of crazy elements in their fighting games. You can perform a wide assortment of combinations both on the ground and in the air. Stages are multi-tiered, meaning you can fall through the ground, and you can even perform ridiculously high jumps as though you're temporarily flying. Players have access to an X-Power meter, which fills as you perform special attacks or take damage. Once the X-Power meter is about half full, it is considered to have one stock. Once it's completely full, it's at max. Players can perform counter throws or break their falls by using just a small portion of the meter, or they can perform X ability or Hyper X moves, which consume a large and small portion of the meter. If you look closely at the video, you'll see me perform some of these moves throughout the review. The audio-visual presentation holds up superbly well. While there are a few frames of animation missing from the arcade version of the game, this is a near-perfect port. It's extremely impressive when you consider the stock Saturn only had 2 MB of RAM and the CPS arcade hardware had significantly more. However, somehow they did it. Capcom's port on the Saturn was a showpiece, and it remains so today. The animations are fluid and look utterly fantastic. The game runs perfectly too. All this to say, this is a must-have fighting game for your Saturn. You can purchase the Japanese version for significantly cheaper than the North American version today, so that's what I recommend fans of the Saturn do. If you can find a North American copy, power to you. Go ahead and purchase this game. You will not be disappointed.
Round 2, fight! KO. You win.